welcome to today's podcast. Hello, and welcome to today's podcast. I'm Rafa, and today we're diving into the US government's response to Hurricane Milton, which struck Florida earlier this month. We've seen a lot of efforts from the FEMA, the National Guard, and other federal agencies to support recovery. But have these efforts been enough? Are there areas where the responsible have fallen short? Here to discuss are a panel of experts, Susie and Danny, who'll share a realist perspective, and Andy and Barbara, who'll participate with a more liberal viewpoint. Let's get started. So, first off, let's talk about the FEMA's initial response. The agency distributed emergency declarations and pre-positioned supplies even before the storm hit. However, there have been some issues reported since then, like website crashes and delays in fund distribution. What are your thoughts on how effective FEMA's actions have been so far?
Well, FEMA did get ahead of the storm, which definitely helped. They pre-deployed resources, and honestly, that's a smart move considering the scale of Hurricane Milton. But the demand for aid has been overwhelming, especially after Hurricane Helene. Like she went there. It's not just about having the supplies; it's about being able to distribute them quickly and efficiently. With all the tax issues, the long wait times for assistance, many people are still struggling.
I mean, that's true, but we have to acknowledge the challenges FEMA is facing. They're dealing with back to back hurricanes, and there's only so much the agency can do when they are working with limited resources. Plus, misinformation is making things worse. People are hesitant to seek help because of rumors that the funds are being misused or redirected.
Interesting points. Now, Barbara, some critics say that FEMA should have anticipated the surge in applications and been better prepared for it. What's your opinion on this claim?
Well, you see, preparation is always crucial, but no one can fully anticipate the scale of these events. With climate change, we're seeing storms increase in intensity and frequency. FEMA budget was recently replenished, but nearly half of the funds were already allocated to previous disasters. They're always having to catch up with previous disasters, and that affects their ability to deal with current ones. I think Congress will need to step in with more funding if we want to see a truly effective response.
Good point, Barbara. Danny, I'd like to hear your thoughts on the National Guard's involvement. We've seen efforts like the removal of water barriers and Operation Blue Roof. How do these initiatives fit into the broader recovery effort?
Well, I've got to admit that the National Guard has been doing important work, especially with the physical infrastructure. And this by removing water barriers in Tampa and providing temporary roofing for homeowners gives communities a chance to stabilize themselves. But there's a limit to what these quick fixes can achieve. I feel like they're not planning ahead, and their plans are just for a short-term amount of time. And we still have entire neighborhoods with significant damage, and those temporary solutions won't last long without follow-up from the federal and state agencies.
Yeah, I agree. That's a fair critique. Now, let's change our topic a bit to the misinformation surrounding the hurricane response. There have been false claims circulating, some of which suggest that disaster relief funds are being diverted to unrelated programs. How does this misinformation impact recovery efforts?
Well, it definitely complicates things. FEMA is already running low on budget, and now they have to utilize resources just to combat false information. For example, there were rumors that certain communities were being prioritized over others based on political affiliations, which just isn't true. This kind of distrust can discourage people from assessing the help they need, which ultimately slows down the recovery.
Okay, come on. It's not just about slowing down recovery, it's about safety. Some groups were even posting as rescue workers to spread propaganda, which can be incredibly dangerous in a situation like this. If people don't trust the official channels, they might turn to these unverified sources for help, putting themselves at risk.
Yeah, that's definitely alarming. Now, I want to touch on the economic consequences briefly. Florida's insurance market was already struggling, and with the damage from Hurricanes Helene and Milton, costs are likely to rise even further. What do you think this means for homeowners and local communities?
Higher insurance costs are going to hit Floridians hard, especially those who are already uninsured. The domino effects could be severe. Many people may be forced to sell their properties, leading to declining property values and putting local economies at a risk of getting worse. It's not just an issue of individuals, it's something that can destabilize their entire communities.
Yeah, I do agree with that, but let's just acknowledge that isn't just a Florida issue, okay? It's a warning for states with coasts across the US. Rising insurances costs could make some areas particularly unaffordable for middle income families. And let's not talk about the lower income families who don't have even like this significant income for like an average thing. And we need a very well thought plan for addressing these financial risks.
Definitely. All great insights. Now, before we wrap up, any final thoughts on what could be done differently moving forward?
Well, aside from increasing funding, I'd say better communication with the public is key. It would help to have more transparent updates from FEMA and local officials to combat misinformation and reassure people that help is available.
Surprisingly, I agree with you. Also,
Mm.
the government needs to focus on long term solutions, not just quick fixes. We're going to keep seeing these storms, and it's time to invest in long term, strong infrastructure and community based recovery plans.
Wow. Thank you all for sharing your perspectives. It's clear that while there have been significant efforts made, there are still major challenges that need addressing. And that wraps up our discussion for the US government response to Hurricane Milton. Thanks to our panelists, Susie, Danny, Andy, and Barbara, for joining us. Stay tuned for more discussions in our coming episodes. Say goodbye, guys.
Bye.
Bye!
Bye.